Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful, lovely. For everybody listening, this is Sip and Pep by Pep Talk Posse, and we are your OG posse. I'm Sneha,
I'm Carly.
and today we're going to talk about change. And I know that if I was 2 years ago, Sneha, I would have started heart palpitations. Just oh, change, why I think change has such a um like hard feeling associated with it. And the funniest thing that have at least realized in my life is that um whether you are pro change or not, it will happen regardless, right? I
Yeah.
think that is
Yeah.
just the funniest thing, that the fruit of like a tree becomes the root of the tree at some point. Like the fruit will become the root and the root will become the fruit. Like it's never still. And like the funniest thing is that if something is still, then it's not life, right?
Right.
When
Yeah.
something is not moving, you don't want to mess with that. We like things that are ever evolving and ever moving. And I think um change is just that word that gives us anxiety. But once we're on the other side, it feels like, oh my God, why was I even against that? Why was I even putting myself through that? Why was I
Right.
resisting it? Because that's where all the pain comes from. It's not necessarily the change, right? We want to be a better person, so we put ourselves through school, college, degrees, this, that, relationships, everything, like hard jobs. We put ourselves through things to become better, to become this vision of who we have in our head to be. And then in the process, we might lose things. And it makes sense because the person I am changing into will have a different set of friends. Probably if I'm changing, I'm making a drastic change, right? If I'm
Yep.
going from like an underconfident person to a confident person, it makes sense that I will lose the social circle or whatever around. The life that I was living does not fit the life that I want to live anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why we resist it. We resist it so bad. I always remind myself that when that happens, if I go through a change, like a minor or major change in my life, I remind myself that if you do lose something with this change, it means that the people who will leave you, the circumstances that will leave you, um, were profiting from who you used to be, and they will no longer profit from who you're going to be.
I think there's two types of changes too. Like there's the change that you control, there's the change within yourself, but then there's changes going on around you. And I have very different feelings about those. I'm the kind of person that loves change. It excites me. It's a fresh perspective, a fresh start. I'll chop my hair off because I need it. I'll rearrange my living room, and my husband will like kind of freak out because it is change. So we're like opposites in that aspect. But it's more of those changes that I can control. When it's like more changes around me, or you hear a lot, if your spouse or partner is changing and you did not know, and this is like news to you, that can be hard to deal with. And I think the best way to do it is talk about it. You can't control it. You can't, it's inevitable, right? Change is inevitable, what you were saying. But to talk through it, even in company change management, talking through it with your employees so that they can see, what it's going towards and why, getting a better understanding, I think. And that can be said as well in yourself, just talking through it with yourself. This is why I'm doing it. This is why I want it, to like keep you going.
Um, you know how I always say that the life that we're living, there's always a bigger spiritual purpose to it, right? I've always thought that. And so when that does happen, that the things start changing around me, I automatically know that I changed.
Yes.
I
Yep.
automatically know that something in me, so what I'm seeing outside will just validate what was going on inside me. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? So for example, if let's say I'm not happy at a job, right? Let's just assume that I'm not happy in whatever job I'm at. As a person who is, I practice um, meditation. I really just like to look within and inward. And then I'll try and, you know, stabilize my mind around, okay, outside doesn't matter so much. It's how I feel about it, right? So even if my spouse is changing, even if my like dog is going through something, like these outside changes don't matter until I start feeling a type of way about it,
Yep.
right? So
Yeah.
my dog could get sick and that could get me, it would just throw me off balance, which it did when Whiskey had his spinal surgery. And what I realized in that moment, that I was able to handle it. I did not crumble under pressure. And so
Yeah.
it's always how I gauge it is how much I have changed. Because back in the day when my first dog, oh, bless Fluffy, who passed, I was not able to handle that. I was gone. I think I was MIA for 2 or 3 months from my then current job. I couldn't talk to anybody. I didn't handle it at all. And with grief, how you don't know how it
Yeah.
hits
Yeah.
people. So I'm not being mean to myself. I'm just saying that I was a different person then. And then when Whiskey got sick 2 months ago or 3 months ago, I handled it really, really well. And I then understood, oh, so it doesn't really matter what changes outside or what happens outside. It's how I feel about it. That makes me understand where I am in my life. And so, coming back to that job example, so if something is happening and it starts taking, like, oh, it was minor at first, and I have looked at it and I have already decided that, okay, this is probably not good for me and I need to move on. Either it will start taking off and I would start noticing it more, or it will subside and I'd be like, oh, I was worried about nothing. And whatever
Yes.
my reaction is tells me what I need to do about the situation. You know what
Yep.
I mean? It's because what I am noticing, we could be in the same situation, we could be seeing the same thing and have a very different reaction, right?
Yeah.
Eh, So I think these are I spend so much time within myself. So I've had like chances to really understand. So it doesn't really matter what is going on outside. It truly never matters. Some people, like, if it rains today, would be like, oh no, blah blah blah. But crops need it, plants need it, so people need it. And so it's really just my perspective on it. That's what I've come to.
I love like that you're talking about this moment of reflection, right? And you're almost forcing the reflection through the change, which is so interesting to me. Like I'm going probably through one of the hardest times of my lives, with change and like what I thought I was meant to do. What am I going to do? Is this a new chapter? And, you and I have talked a lot, which has helped me self-reflect when I don't do that normally, and I've never seen so much change in the way I talk to myself and treat myself
In a
that
good way.
in a good way. Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm trying to reflect of like, even though this is one of the hardest times of my life, I have changed so much and am proud in certain ways. I mean, here's hoping it ends up well, but I just like you've helped me self reflect throughout. And I think that that's something key to tell ourselves in the future when we're struggling of like, take a moment, what good has happened so far? Even if it's the littlest thing, like I tied my shoes. Like,
It's
I don't care.
always, but like, it's always that way though. If you really think about it, I'm going to go a little bit graphic, so I'm sorry for people who are listening. I apologize. But when babies are just warm and cozy in their mom's belly, they don't cry. They're just happy. This is all they know, right? And then they're pushed through a very narrow and tight space to come into this world, and then they start crying. So they're going through a change, right? Like you were taken from a space and you were put into a different space. It's not necessarily good or bad. We wouldn't know, right? You can
Right.
only connect the dots, like only retrospect. So we don't know, but mostly life has been good. Mostly. We just like tie ourselves to these big moments that felt bad. I'm not going to say that they were bad. I'm going to say
Yeah.
that felt bad. Again, coming back to how I feel about things.
Mm-hmm.
So it always comes down to that. I think we have to remember that change is always good. The way I have seen
Yeah.
it, how like I've gone through situations where I was just trying to either resist it or trying to change really fast, and neither work. It's just
Yeah.
it You have to let yourself feel and read through the situation, and have be resilient in those moments, and know yourself more, know yourself, like what you're made of. I heard this, somebody said it. I need to start taking notes of who said it so I can give credit. But somebody was holding an orange and they said, if you squeeze this orange, what would come out? And the people were like, okay, orange juice. And he was like, yeah, because this orange is made of orange juice. So if you squeeze that, only orange juice can come out. It will not give you apple juice. So whenever you're pushed through situations or like really just tested in moments, what comes out is what you're made of. And those
Mm-hmm.
are the moments when you realize what you're made of. So if somebody did something that you felt was immoral or unethical or whatever it may be, and you immediately feel like, I have to fight this, what are you made of?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
understood what you're made of. What are your reactions about it? So I think change, as hard as it mostly feels that way because we're trying to keep something the way it was, and it's just never the way. We were born, we grow, we never had any phase of life that stays, which is the funniest part. Like we were in school sometime, and then we were, in college and did this, did that. None of it was forever. Nobody said it would be forever. And so I always remind myself that if I want to live a life that I've never lived, I have to do the things that I've never done, right? If I wanted to have a life that is like, yeah, I don't know, think about anything we have today, like remote work and all these like things that I always wanted, right? So then when 2020 happened, everybody was forced to remote work. And that was my silver lining. I was like, oh, so we're changing. Look,
Yeah.
like something
Yep.
really terrible had to happen. And it's so bad. Obviously, like, I'm not saying that it was good that it happened. I'm saying a lot of good did come from a very
That's
horrible situation.
that's a great example, actually, because I was going to talk about, focus, and change. Most people that don't like change, or when it's scary, it's because you're focusing on the unknown. And that's when it's the scariest thing in the world. If you can focus on what you have to do to move forward right now, what you need in yourself, what needs to, happen to progress, then it will be easier to deal with. And COVID was the perfect example because
Thing at hand.
I'm a creative. I was working in a full service marketing agency, and I was like, creative can never work remotely. I'm all for flexible schedule, work from
You?
home oh yeah, oh
You
yeah.
were against remote?
I was like, there's no possible way we can collaborate Work from home if you need to focus, but we need to be in the office. COVID hit, and I'm like, oh God. And it wasn't like going away, right? So I had to literally like put my head down, roll up my sleeves, do the research, find the tools, because I needed my team to be able to survive. We still needed
Yeah.
to work, you know? But what was interesting is I loved it. I,
And see, you
it's
changed. You
better.
went with it. I
Yep.
this is a very pivotal moment. I have to highlight this because look, many a times we go through situations and we change because the situation forced us to, and then
Yeah.
right back like a fucking magnet.
Oh,
Right back.
true. Sometimes, yeah.
And so you have to remember that this is why I love you, because well, I've loved you for many reasons, but this is one of those things where I always look at people, I respect people more when they're able to change their own mind. It's so
Yes.
important because otherwise you're stuck. Otherwise,
Yep.
those are my first that's one of my first date questions where I used to ask, like, what was the last thing you changed your mind about? What was the
I feel
last
like
thing?
you've told me this. That's such a
Hmm.
great first date question.
I have to know. Like the two things I always asked on first dates were, what was the last thing you changed your mind about? When was the last time you cried? Because I'm, a heterosexual, like just, cis. So I would always go out with men, and that's an important thing to know, how close you are with yourself, how natural it is for you to cry. And if I, which I heard a lot, I don't cry. I can't cry. That's scary. You can't cry. You can't cry. What do you mean you cannot cry? I
So you're
like,
a liar.
or more scary that you are a truther and you are literally not in contact with yourself. Like a person who cannot cry or feel it, that's scary. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's really scary. But yeah, so changing your mind is important, and permanently. So you when you once you change your mind and you go, okay, this is my new path, those are the people, like adaptive, just okay, the next time something hits, you will again be able to do it because you didn't go right back smack to, oh, now it's over, let me go back to my old ways like a moron.
Right.
This is what I mean. And I think so many of us are stuck there where we change because the situation demands it, and then right back to our bullshit.
Mm. Do you have like, I feel like I'm always trying to gut check myself. Like, are you being stubborn, Carly? Because I know I can be stubborn sometimes. And so I need that posse to talk to, and be like, tell me if I'm being stubborn. And that's when I can like, that helps me change my mind as well.
Oh,
We all need to reach out for that gut check, I think.
I am super stubborn. I don't listen. That's one thing. Everybody will tell you about me, my parents, my friends. Sneha doesn't listen. That's one thing, just common. I'll ask people for advice, yes. But in the end, I'll do whatever I wanted to do anyway, because that's very important to me. It's just so important to me because this is my life. I don't know how many times I've said that in on this podcast, but this is my life. I have to make sure that I am living it with my perfect honesty as
Mhm.
best as I can. I don't know if it's right or wrong in the future, but in the moment, it has to be honest to myself first. And
I
if
think with
I'm,
decisions, I see that in you, but I also see in you, from as long as I've known you, so open to
oh,
hearing
always.
other perspectives. And a lot of times you are like, I never thought of it that way. So it's
Oh,
almost like I
because
don't see that
that's
stubbornness.
that's my well, you don't see it because I value your opinion. It's different. You don't see it. Ask anybody. Like, this is the funniest thing. My mom, to this day, I wear different clothes, right? I'm an Aquarius rising moon north node, so my the way I dress is very like weird. I know that about myself. I love it. I love it. When my mom used to tell me that, hey, that doesn't look so good, that outfit you picked doesn't look so good, I knew it was the perfect outfit. That's exactly what I'm going to wear. And anytime I would buy something and my mom would be like, oh my God, that's lovely, return
Take it back.
return, immediate return. Because like, that's not to say that I hate my mom, or like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I know people and where they shine. And so that has somehow become my GPS. I'm like, oh, I see, mom, you like things that are boring. And so not me, but you have never seen that, because I truly value your opinion, and you have a very different perspective on things. I come from, and I know this about myself too, that um I have a default trauma response, right? I grew up in a horrible situation, and that makes you have some coping mechanisms that are kind of toxic.
Yep.
Not good for you. And so, especially in work situations where I would be around a lot of people who are just different, and or just different levels of skill set, different level of work ethic, different level of anything, I don't know, I just mean that I would find myself in situations where I'd be like, okay, is this the correct thing? Or am I do I have the glasses? Do I have the trauma response glasses? Do I
Hmm.
have my coping mechanism glasses? And that's where I would come to you, because I knew you are a person who would never, just throw me into the darkness and go like, okay, well, throw me under the bus or anything. So I could trust, is what I'm saying. So it really depends. I don't have many people who I would go to. My dog is trying to move. Um, he can't walk, so he just scoots for baby. But I think I'm open in certain things where my gut is not an absolute 100%. But I will ask people like my brother or you. Um, End of list. That was basically, that's it. End of list. I don't ask, I don't listen. um I am very stubborn. I just trust myself. That's how I
Yeah.
will put it. I just trust the voice that is within me, the feeling that tells me, oh my God, Sneha, we love writing, or like we love painting, we love art and movies and music, and I just know I thrive in that situation. You cannot put me in a
Hmm.
math class. I used to really love math and science. Science I still do. Kind of a nerd, but you cannot put me in some situations. I just like running. If you see me running, it's zombie apocalypse. It's not happening. I am. I will throw punches. I will do kickboxing with you. I'll go to Soul Cycle with you. But you see me running, you run. You don't even look back, because that's the end of the world.
It's not change is coming. It's the end.
It's the end. If I am running, God knows what happens. Some like, what is that called? The day of, what is that thing in the Bible they say? What day?
Oh, I don't know.
Well,
Oh, should we
rapture.
do? Oh, okay.
It
So,
came to me.
so, all right. So,
All
should
right.
we do an exercise?
Ooh, our next segment. Let's go.
Ooh.
Do you have
Okay.
one?
I do. I do. A little bit of a self-discovery. This is called the Bluebird. Let me move it over. I need to stop reading on my other screen. So I'm going to change this right now. Bear with
Oh,
me.
look, we're changing in the
Look at,
moment.
I'm changing. So now I'm actually looking. Okay. So this is called the Bluebird. It is
Mhm.
from Kokology, our favorite.
Love.
So let's see. Take a deep breath, dive into your imagination, and enjoy the question.
Let's go.
One day, a bluebird suddenly flew to the window of your room and was trapped. You got attracted to this bird, that's why you kept it. The next day, you were surprised to see that the bluebird turned its color into yellow. On the third day, it became red. And on the fourth day, it became black. What color is the bird when you wake up on the fifth day?
I know.
I guess there's four choices. So think about something that's closest. So one, it stays black. Two, it turns black. It turns back to its original blue. Three, it turns white. Or four, it turns golden colored.
That oh my god, mine was golden.
It was?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Mine was white.
My thing went like, oh, it went through so many rainbow colors. It can only like transform into this like bigger, like a different thing. So like after a few, you go through
Yeah.
multiple changes, you just like transform. So in my head, it was totally golden. I was like, oh my god, that's a golden bird.
And in
That's so
mine, it just
funny.
lost all color because it just went
Ah,
through all the colors. Not in a bad way, but
no, it's. I think that's
yeah.
beautiful. Let's see what the answers
Okay.
mean.
The bird that flew into your room seemed like a symbol of good fortune, but suddenly it changed color, making you worry that happiness would not last. Your reaction to this situation shows how you respond to difficulties and uncertainties in real life. So I'll read them all so
Mhm.
that we know. Okay. Those who said the bird stays black have a pessimistic outlook. Do you tend to believe that once a situation goes bad, it never really returns to normal? Maybe you need to try thinking if this is as bad as it gets, it can't get any worse. Remember, there's no rain that doesn't end, and no night so dark that there's no dawn the next day. I love that.
I
I love
love
that.
that.
Yeah. Number two, those who said the bird turns blue again are practical optimists. Your belief that life is a You believe that life is a mix of good and bad and that it doesn't pay to fight against the reality. You accept adversity calmly and let things run their course without due stress or worry. This outlook lets you ride out the waves of adversity without being swept away. It's like that steady rock that you want on your side, like I want to be with this person. I need that in
Right.
my life, right?
Realistic, but kind of optimistic. Like, oh, ebb and flow is good. That's good. It's a
The
healthy
calm
outlook.
stays calm. Like this
Yeah.
is that friend that's like everything's gonna be okay.
Stays calm. None of us, neither one of us.
Those who said the bird turns white are cool and decisive under pressure.
Ooh,
Oh,
knew
okay.
that. Knew that. Facts.
You don't waste time on fretting and indecision, even when a crisis develops. If a
Yeah.
situation gets too bad, you feel it's better to cut your losses and look for another route to your goal rather than getting bogged down in needless grief. This proactive approach means that things seem to just naturally go your way. Seem, it says. Seem.
Hey, hey,
But that
hey.
is definitely me.
It's
That is
all
definitely
perspective. If
right.
it seems, it is.
All right, you ready for yours? The
Yes.
golden bird.
Let's
Those
go.
who said the bird turns golden can be described as fearless. You don't know the meaning of pressure. To you, every crisis is an opportunity. You might be compared with Napoleon, who said, impossible. The word is not French. But careful not to let your boundless confidence get the best of you. It is a very fine line between fearless and foolhardy. Ooh, this was a good one. I kind of love that. Are we
I
going to
kind
do
of
our
like
birds in
that.
AI? We'll do that.
I love the word foolhardy.
Right?
I just sometimes it just happens to me. I don't know if it happens to you, but I will read or hear a word and then it just gets stuck, and now it will be stuck in my mind.
In your
Foolhardy, foolhardy. I think that's, and
yeah.
it also reminds me of the tarot, the first tarot card, the zero number, the Fool.
The
It's
fool.
my
Yeah.
it's my favorite card. It's my favorite card in the whole deck, other than the Sun, I guess. But
And isn't that card a little bit about that? Be fearless. Don't
leap of
worry too
faith,
much. Leap of
news.
faith.
It
Oh,
will
that's it.
just
That makes
trust
sense.
everything.
That makes sense.
See, this is what I mean. Like, I spend so much time with myself that now when my brain starts firing things, I'm like, oh, I know. That makes sense. Love it. Love it for me.
Love it. So we could end this session with that pep talk for each other or for others out there. What about challenge did you sort of pull from this?
Let's do it for our people because I feel like there are such challenging times in the world right now with all the wars, all the layoffs, all the unemployment rate, and then on top of everything, just not having uh, the sense of comfort is too far, just a sense of relief, right? Like
Yeah.
that's very hard to come by. So I think
Yeah.
um, I kind of want to do it for our people today. And if that's okay with you, are you
Yeah.
good with that? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In Hindi, well, I grew up in India, and there's a proverb that says there's this thing when gold is put through a lot of heat, it starts shining like a diamond. Like there's an actual craft work that the jewelers do back home that will take a blob of gold and put it under so much fire and pressure that it starts glowing like a diamond, and it's called kundan. And they say that gold cannot be kundan until it's put through all of that heat and pressure. And that was something I grew up hearing my parents say. And yes, while going through it in the middle, nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. Might as well stop trying to make sense
Yep.
of it. So if you cannot see the whole staircase, focus on one step. Focus on the next step. And that's all you have to do. And change is a beautiful thing because you're getting closer to what you've asked for. You're getting closer to your dreams. You're getting closer to who you always wanted to be. So, in the middle, if it's a little bit hard, if it's a little bit tough, go through it for once. And then on the other side, it is always pretty on the other side. This is what we know, right? We have lived through I've lived through some 30 something years on this planet, and every time I thought it was the end all be all, it never was. It
Mm-hmm.
never was. Everything that I thought was going wrong, everything that I thought I lost, oh my God. If I had known the boyfriend I was going to have, the jobs, the work that I was going to do, the friends that I was going to have, I would have gladly given away everything before.
Right.
Gladly. I would just go, all right, well, this is not the man I want. This is not the friends I want. This is not the jobs I want. If I knew where I was going, if I had any inkling, oh my God. So let it go. Just don't carry. It feels hard because you're carrying a lot. It feels difficult because you are trying to attach yourself to this I like this reality that you have, and I that makes sense. But you're going somewhere much better, much prettier. So hold on. Just be light about it. Don't grab at friends who are trying to leave you. Don't grab at jobs that are not trying to, have you or trying to reject you. It's fine. It's fine. This means good things. This means that you're on the path to better. That's what it means. So if anything, don't be scared of change. Look at it as this messenger of good,
Mm.
messenger of light.
I love it. Don't focus on the unknown. Focus on the possibilities. Focus on yourself and have those moments of self-reflection because embrace those little steps that you're talking about throughout the way because this is making you a better person. I love the idea of thinking about what you've gotten or what you might not have gotten if you didn't change in the past. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's good to look back in the past when you were that child, you know, going through a fight with your friend and learning about that. You got through it. It wasn't the end of the world, right? and you wouldn't be who you are today if you didn't do it.
Yeah. I think it's important to always remember that there's hope in the future. I think that's what we tend to forget. Like, so this is how I would put it to summarize this whole talk. Let's say I came to you and I said, hey, in 2 months or like in 30 days, you will have this, you will have this, you will be here, you'll be doing this, everything that you've ever imagined. In 30 days, it is done. On the 30th day, it is done. Would you worry every single day? No. You would just go live your life and you'd go, okay, well, on the 30th day, everything will be fine. Approach life like that.
Right.
Approach life
Yep.
knowing that it has to be good. It always is. Trust. So, whatever is happening, why would you go, up and down roller coaster of emotions? Feel things, be with yourself, take care of yourself, but don't worry that it will always be like this. Never, nothing ever is.
Right. Nothing
So
ever
bad
is.
time can also not exist. So don't worry. I think that's easier said than done, but just approach your life as, oh, there's an end to this. Everything has an end to this. And it has been a bad time. Great. Good times ahead. Lovely. So approach life that way. That's my one thing that I never let go. I think it's the Sagittarius optimistic thing that we were just born with. So no matter how bad the situation is, okay, then it has to turn around. If I'm at rock bottom, where else am I going other than up?
Hmm. Love it.
All right. Thank you, friends. And we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Love you.
Love you.